Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, obviously go and hit that like button. Why not, while you're down there, hit that subscribe button. And last, but by no means least, why not drop a comment as well? One, goes a massive way to helping out the channel. And two, I really love hearing back from you guys, whether you're just stopping by to say hello, whether you just want to comment on what colour scheme is your favourite for your favourite faction, or what your favourite faction is. It's all super cool, super interesting, and it makes the channel more of a community, which is pretty much exactly what I would like. Anywho, this week we are on good old issue number 22 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead magazine. It is a paint issue, so in all honesty not something super fun to write home about. However, we do get two paints. We get Catachan Flesh, which is a brown tone. You can use this as a flesh base colour or anything like that, so it's good for darker flesh tones. You can use it for dry brushing over things like sterling mud, for your basing. You can use it for leather. Yeah, there's a fair few uses. You'll use it for fur and places like that, so it's going to come in handy over the long run, so it's pretty decent. It's not a bad paint. The other paint we get is good old Runelord Brass. Now, Runelord Brass is a metallic, obviously. I always find it seems to sit better and paint better over lead belcher. However, every now and again they do improve paint recipes, so I will try this over black first and see how it works. But yeah, it's fairly decent. It's a pretty good one. Obviously, it's a completely different tone to lead belcher and good old retributor armor, so it has a completely different look and a completely different kind of effect for certain colors and color schemes and everything like that. So it's not bad. It's a pretty decent paint. Moving on from there, though, obviously we're going to go straight into this week's issue. We are greeted by some lore, all to do with the Tempest Straits. To the north of the Tempest Straits lies the Crimson Front. This area is racked with conflict and drowned in blood. Though many factions have spent years fighting there and have lost many fine warriors, none have been able to claim total victory over the lands, and the fighting continues there, as ferocious as ever. In the more optimistic past, the Sigmarite city of Shimfront was founded to establish a permanent presence on the Crimson Front. News of atrocities perpetrated by Khornate warriors became increasingly common, and Sigmar's commanders hoped that a fortified city would be key to claiming the surrounding area and driving the barbarians back. However, pressure on Shimfront supply lines began almost immediately. Starved of weapons, fresh troops, and even food, the city began to wither and turn from conquest to survival. Facing devastating attrition, the city never lived up to its promise, but the setters still fight on, for their only choice is between desperate war and total annihilation. The Blades of Khorne have remained a constant presence in the area, and now so great is the influence of the Blood God that the very lands themselves are twisted and warped into a gruesome spectacle of carnage and death. So you get a little bit more lore about some of the part of the realms and all to do with the Tempest Straits. It's a fairly interesting area, and obviously because the amount of blood spilt there, it is very popular for Khorne. Yeah, you would expect a little bit of warping to happen around there as well. You get a little bit of information about the ancient enemies. Obviously, the ancient enemies of Shimfront will be the good old Chaos lovers, slaves to darkness, and of course the Skaven, because you know, wherever war seems to happen, Skaven tend to follow and tend to be a little bit of a nuisance in the background. Anywho, moving on from there, we have a bit of information about the Stormcast Eternals and the Ruination Chamber. So, obviously, because when they started the magazine, they didn't get through all the lore that they really wanted us to get into with the Stormcast Eternals. So we get a little bit more here, including the newest chamber to have been opened as well. So, the Ruination Chambers serves as a last respite for those Stormcast Eternals whose very essence has been depleted by endless reforging. But In times of darkest need, even they venture forth to rid the mortal realms of foes. When times are desperate, even those who are sequestered in the Ruination Chambers are called to war. When they fight, they risk all, for they are perhaps only a single death and reforging away from losing the last vestiges of their humanity. When that time comes for them, there will be no turning back. But they still battle, thinking only of their duty and their righteous victory that belongs to Sigmar. So, the Ruination Chambers. Ruination Chambers are a very, very interesting part of the Stormcast Eternal lore. So, the majority of other Stormcast Eternals may have heard rumours about the Ruination Chamber, but have never encountered them, never seen them up close, and don't know if them rumours are actually true. However, obviously, the more times a soul is reforged, the more damage it's doing to the psyche of that Stormcast Eternal. They can't be reforged on and on and on and on forever. So, the Ruination Chambers were designed to kind of be a kind of last home for those souls that are a little bit too broken to carry on, and maybe losing touch with reality and their actual human side as well. So, they tend to do a little bit of things to go with them. And there are some really cool units that come with the Ruination Chambers as well. So, we have the Lord Terminus. The sinister figure of the Lord Terminus accompanies the warriors of the Ruination Chamber onto the battlefield, shadowed by a hooded Memorian, which is one of these little chappies here, which is pretty cool. And obviously, to grab my Lord Terminus. Yeah, pretty cool, man. I really enjoyed painting it. It's a shame we don't get it with a spearhead. Anyway, Memoriam, they stride across the battlefield, cutting down enemies and demonstrating their skill and prowess in deadly combat. But when that time comes, they have a darker purpose to serve. Should a fellow Stormcast draw near the end of their time in the mortal realms, the Lord Terminus will deliver the final blow to spare them the agony of persisting in life with a soul that has been broken beyond all repair. So, the power of the Lord Terminus is that their axe has the ability to completely sever their soul from the mortal realms entirely. So, for instance, if a Reclusian, which is on here, which are pretty damn cool, and these are the unfortunate souls that are very, very close to being at the very end, and their humanity is very depleted, and they are essentially revenants. They're accompanied by Memorians to kind of remind them that they are human and that they have links to the mortal realms and stuff like that. So, the Lord Terminus can basically cut down one of them if needed. So, and will basically sever their soul from the mortal realm, so they have a chance to just go into the ether and never be reforged and not be captured by Nagash or Slanesh or anyone like that. So they have that ability to just kind of go, which is a rare thing in the mortal realms. So it's pretty cool. Other parts of the good old Ruination Chamber is the Lord Vigilant, which obviously we have that chappie. The Prosecutors, which we have those chappies, which are really, really cool, and they are now part of the Ruination Chambers because, they've been moved into that kind of chamber as well, which is pretty cool. And we have things like the Knight Azeros, and a major Knight Azeros from the who's a major character is Taunus for Redeemed, who used to be Torglug the Despised, a notorious devotee of Nurgle, who was a fierce warrior. He was struck down by a Stormcast Eternal in the end after taking a few of them along with him, and his soul was then transported to Azir, and he was reforged into Taunus for Redeemed. And at first he wasn't quite trusted by a lot of Stormcast Eternals who realised exactly who he was and where his soul comes from and everything. And has now become one of the quite a very important character in the fight, especially against Nurgle, which is pretty cool. Moving on from there, we get a paint guide, obviously updates to painting our minis. So obviously we're going to get information about utilising our Rune Lord Brass, using it in the places where this magazine is telling us. yeah, I kind of agree with it. It's not too bad. It's a pretty decent place to do it, and it'll work very, very well. So using it on things like the bell, clapper, and all that type of stuff. Using it on parts of the contraptions on the back of the rat ogres, and even certain areas of your good old Gracier's blades and all that type of stuff. Always work very, very well. And yeah, you'll do exactly what you need it to do. It's actually is a pretty decent way of using it and utilising it. So I'm not going to knock it. It'll do exactly what you need it to do. The weird thing that they don't really go through is where you're going to use your Catachan flesh. However, with your main mini, so over things like the rat ogres, where you may have painted Mornfang brown over the kind of more brownish areas and the fur areas, you could dry brush over some Catachan flesh and it will change its complexion a little bit as well. When we get the Night Quester flesh, you'll be able to do exactly the same and it will change it even more and lighten it up a bit more. If you want to go with different colours, go with different colours, but you know, you have them options as well, so it's not too bad. Pretty decent, pretty good. And yeah, I mean, the paint schemes works. I'm not going to knock it. It'll do exactly what you need it to do. Obviously, there's a long way to go because they look very, very basic and a bit grubby. So yeah, but there's a lot of things to do. So yeah, it's not too bad. Moving on from there, we get more and more of our basic rules. So we get a whole reference of how to utilise in the good old Spearheads. So obviously we have our pre-battle sequence, deployment, seizing the initiative, battle tactics cards, victory points. So we will, I would imagine we're probably going to get tactics cards at some point because we are going to need them in the long run for the Spearheads. But, you know, it is a magazine, so we will wait and see because who knows. Then obviously all your other bits on there. So start with sequence, terrain, and obviously your good old phases. So go through all of that. You're going to learn all of these abilities. Keeping things like that is pretty decent because it will give you a lot of reference. And if you've been playing along, you will have a little bit of experience with all of these to kind of get you going. But from there, it is now time to actually start our core rules. So the way the magazines work is they generally give us a full rule book. So we are going to get every single page, or near enough, of the rules for playing the Age of Sigmar. So you will get a lot of things that will go a bit more in depth on what we've already learnt so far and more. So keep an eye out for that. So you'll get a bit more on you here. So you'll get obviously picking your army, choose your realm and your battlefield, pick your regiment ability and enhancements, prepare your war scrolls because you're going to need those, so them pages are very, very handy. Photocopy them is always an option, so you can photocopy them and cut them down into card size if you wanted to, and all that good stuff. And then you have your actual battle packs as well. So battle packs are very, very varied. So you have Fire and Jade, and then there are others that will be around at some point. We will also get decks, so you do need the decks to play. So you have Twist deck, so you have Gyron Twist decks and actually this Twist deck, and Battle Tactic deck as well. So those cards are going to be very, very handy over the course of it. And then all your battle plans. So you're going to need the battle plans to kind of work out attacker, defender, and your battle lines and what your objectives are. And because not everything is about being smashy, smashy, killy, killy. Sometimes it's all about capturing the objectives and how them objectives are going to benefit you to win the game in the long run. Then you have your terrain. So obviously we already have this bit of terrain, which is pretty decent. It's good terrain as well, in all honesty. But yeah. So, and we go through there, and then obviously all your bits and pieces on there. So you get to have a little bit of fun with it and enjoy yourself, and yeah, it's going to be good fun. Moving on from there, we actually have our first battle plan. So our first battle plan is Fire and Jade. So you'll have your territories, and away you go. Obviously, you're pitting two spearheads against each other, whether you're going for Stormcast versus Skaven, or Seraphon versus Skaven, or when the time comes, you can go good old Skaven versus Slaves to Darkness, so all the S's. Or you can go Soulblight Gravelords versus Stormcast Eternals to carry on with all the S's. So you can have a bit of fun with it, and you can play through it as much as you like or as little as you like. Have a bit of fun with it and enjoy yourself. That is the main thing. Moving on from there. Next week is the start of our next Spearhead, and it is Slaves to Darkness, and we get our Chaos Lord. So, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of Chaos. However, that's not a bad mini. It's a pretty good one, pretty different. He has a tactical rock because, you know, what makes a hero in Age of Sigmar and Warhammer in general than a tactical rock to stand on or put a foot on. Anyway, that is enough from me. My throat's going a bit croakier now and I'm losing the ability to speak. So, thank you very, very much for watching. There will be an update video with a rundown of what we're getting all the way up to issue 90 sometime soon. As soon as I'm feeling a little bit less rough and I can talk for more than 15 minutes at a time without wanting to cough to death, there will be that video coming soon. But yeah, unfortunately, just gotta wait until I can, not feel like I'm swallowing razor blades. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.